Claire Whitmore is my name. The tale I am about to unfold is one I find difficult to confess, yet it has profoundly shaped my reflections on emotions, accountability, and the delicate boundary that separates right from wrong. That morning, my husband Tom Reynolds departed early for a weekend business trip to Los Angeles. In a quaint house nestled by the California shore, we basked in the warmth of sunlight streaming through expansive windows, accompanied by the gentle symphony of waves crashing rhythmically throughout the day. Tom Reynolds cherished his profession, and I consistently stood by him, despite the fact that his regular absences made the home feel increasingly hollow with each departure. In the stillness of the morning, I chose to embrace the tranquility by tidying up the house and revitalizing the surroundings. I selected my cherished jazz playlist and began my journey in the living room. The gentle strains of music wafted from the speakers, weaving a serene, ethereal ambience that harmonized beautifully with the crisp ocean breeze. I donned a plain white t-shirt paired with denim shorts, ensuring my comfort as I moved about freely. While I concentrated on dusting the towering bookshelves adorned with Tom Reynolds' cherished decorations, an unmistakable sensation washed over me. Someone was standing just behind me. I pivoted and caught sight of Lucas Carter, Tom Reynolds' son from his earlier marriage, casually leaning against the doorframe. Lucas Carter emerged from his room, his hair tousled and his eyes still holding the remnants of slumber. "Good morning, Lucas Carter," I said, offering him a smile as I endeavored to keep my voice light and cheerful. "Morning," he replied, his gaze lingering a touch longer than customary. He entered the living room and settled onto the sofa, his gaze lingering on me. I endeavored to divert my focus and pressed on with my tasks, yet his presence rendered concentration increasingly elusive. We engaged in casual conversation about his internship aspirations and the projects he was currently involved in. As I stretched to adjust a picture frame perched on the top shelf, I remained blissfully unaware of my precarious balance on the small stool beneath me. The stool teetered precariously to one side, and in that moment I found myself losing my balance. "Claire Whitmore," Lucas Carter called out, his voice urgent as he hurried towards me. He encircled my waist with his arms just as I was about to tumble. In the hushed space, I sensed the unwavering strength of Lucas Carter's hold. We remained still for a moment, my breath trapped in my chest as our gazes intertwined, nearer than we had ever been. The strength of Lucas Carter's embrace enveloped me, yet it carried a softness, as though he feared to catch me off guard. My heart raced as I became aware of our proximity, so near that I could sense the warmth of his breath. I released a soft chuckle to shatter the heavy stillness that hung in the air. "It was fortunate that you were present. I might have taken a rather unfortunate tumble," I remarked with a hint of levity. Lucas Carter hesitated to reply. His gaze remained fixed on me, as though he yearned to express something yet lacked the bravery to do so. His gaze held a blend of confusion, curiosity, and an elusive hint of admiration. I extricated myself from his embrace and smoothed down my t-shirt, striving to restore my poise. Lucas Carter remained rooted in place, his gaze fixed intently upon me. I faced him and spoke in a manner I hoped would come across as nonchalant. "What are your plans for the weekend?" Lucas Carter shrugged, a subtle smile beginning to grace his lips. "Not quite. I think I'll simply remain at home and unwind." I inclined my head and made my way to the sofa, gesturing for him to join me there. I required a moment to regain my composure after the near fall. Lucas Carter settled into his seat, and in that moment, the distance between us seemed to shrink more than it ever had. The stillness that enveloped us was not filled with discomfort. Rather, it was a serene quietude, imbued with a sense of ease. The gentle murmur of the waves outside wafted in, harmonizing with the warm golden sunlight that poured through the expansive window. As I caught Lucas Carter's eye, I observed his unwavering gaze, a calmness that enveloped us both. Yet beneath that familiar steadiness, there lingered a subtle shift, a softness, a sincerity that spoke volumes without uttering a word. "I've always cherished mornings such as this," I remarked softly, shattering the stillness tranquil and unhurried. Lucas Carter nodded, his voice barely above a whisper. "I feel the same way, particularly when there's someone to experience it alongside." His words caused me to hesitate. The inflection in his voice suggested he was addressing something far from ordinary. My heartbeat began to race. Is that you, Claire Whitmore? At times it seems we grasp the depths of one another without uttering a single word, he murmured, his gaze unwavering from mine. The warmth surged to my cheeks. Though I know I shouldn't feel this way, the way Lucas Carter gazed at me cast a fog over everything. In a moment of spontaneity, I extended my hand and gently brushed against his arm. That delicate gesture appeared to suspend the atmosphere around us in a moment of stillness. Only the sound of our breaths filled the air, accompanied by an indescribable sensation that eluded expression. Is that you, Lucas Carter? I whispered, filled with uncertainty, yet my gaze remained fixed. Lucas Carter remained silent. Instead, he softly laid his hand over mine, grasping it as though to offer me comfort. At that instant, clarity washed over me. We found ourselves at the precipice of an experience that transcended mere transient intimacy. Yet, just as my thoughts began to swirl, he drew nearer. I came to the realization that I had not been taking a step back. In the embrace of the morning sunlight and the warmth of his breath, it seemed as though the entire world beyond had faded into oblivion. Lucas Carter leaned in closer, and I found myself irresistibly drawn to follow suit, inching forward with a deliberate slowness. That moment seemed to linger endlessly as the space between us vanished. His breath caressed my cheek, warm and achingly near. I shut my eyes, sensing that every sound in our vicinity had faded into silence. As his lips met mine, tender yet brimming with feeling, a delightful shiver coursed through my entire being. The kiss unfolded with a deliberate grace. It was tender, as though we both understood we were traversing a final threshold, one from which there would be no return. My heart raced within my chest, yearning to escape its confines. I was acutely aware that this was misguided. I was acutely aware that this was a mistake. Yet, in that instant my logic faltered, unable to withstand the comforting embrace that Lucas Carter offered. His hand glided softly over my cheek, drawing me nearer as though he feared I might vanish. The powerful and swift rhythm of his heart resonated within me. It aligned perfectly with my own. I extended my hand to graze his shoulder, sensing the strength of his form and the rapid rise and fall of his breath as he softly uttered my name. Claire Whitmore. The timbre of his voice sent a chill down my spine. I leaned my head against his chest, sensing his arms envelop me with a secure yet gentle embrace, as if he sought to protect me from all that lay beyond the sanctuary of our shared existence. Our breaths intertwined, his warmth wrapping around us in the soft glow of the room. I gently caressed his cheek, savoring the warmth of his skin under my fingertips. Lucas Carter's embrace grew a fraction tighter, his gaze revealing a depth of sincerity and yearning that was utterly undeniable. It was clear to us both that a boundary had been breached. The barriers that once stood between us had vanished. Lucas Carter bowed his head and pressed his lips against mine once more, this time with a depth and fervor that ignited a fire within me. His kisses shattered the walls I had meticulously constructed. I let my fingers glide through his hair, a shiver coursing through my hands as the flood of emotion surged within me, demanding release. The waves outside persisted in their rhythmic melody, a gentle reminder of the world that continued to thrive beyond my immediate surroundings. In that instant, nothing mattered but the rhythm of his breath, the steady thump of his heartbeat, and a profound intimacy that suggested we had been intertwined for an eternity. I urged myself to cease, yet my heart remained unyielding. The gentle warmth of his breath brushed against my ear, his voice a soft, trembling whisper. I'm at a loss, Claire Whitmore. You occupy my thoughts incessantly. I brushed my fingers against his cheek, and in the depths of his gaze, I realized we were both engulfed in this silent, profound feeling. The alluring temptation had driven us beyond the delicate boundary, enveloping me in a whirlwind of fear and intensity, as though I had surrendered entirely to his embrace. In the midst of a swirling fog, I found myself teetering on the edge of reality, engulfed by a tide of intense emotion. The heat radiating from Lucas Carter's body, and the rhythmic thrum of his heartbeat resonating within me clouded my thoughts further. Each caress from him was soft yet searing, akin to a smoldering flame I couldn't douse. His lips brushed against my temple, gliding down to my cheek, where tiny beads of sweat glistened, a testament to the chaos swirling inside me. My entire being quaked not from fear, but from a yearning so palpable and taboo. His fingers wove through my hair, tenderly caressing it as if seeking to soothe and draw me nearer. In his gaze, I found myself adrift, captivated by the youthful depth that brimmed with a yearning and sincerity, a truth so raw it felt almost merciless. Claire Whitmore. His voice trembled on a breath, imbued with yearning yet also imploring me not to look away. In that fleeting moment, the choice I made eluded my understanding. Everything felt as though I were being swept away by a relentless current, powerless to resist its pull. My heart compelled me to reply, oblivious to the repercussions that might follow. As I shut my eyes once more, I sensed his breath softly grazing my neck, the rhythmic pulse of his heart echoing in his chest, enveloping me in a surreal haze. Yet, deep within the recesses of my mind, a subtle voice murmured, "You have crossed the threshold." Despite everything, I found myself unable to hold back. Lucas Carter drew me nearer, his warmth enveloping me like a comforting embrace, allowing me to forget the world outside this singular moment. "I never thought this could happen," Lucas Carter whispered, his eyes shimmering with a blend of uncertainty and joy, for I had not pushed him away. "Yet I fear the thought of losing you or this cherished sensation." His words struck me like arrows, penetrating deep within. I was aware that I ought to withdraw, yet my fingers remained entwined with his. Our breaths intertwined, rapid yet oddly serene. The waves outside sang their eternal song, weaving an enchanting tapestry that rendered our moment all the more distinct from the world beyond. I leaned my head against his shoulder, enveloped in a paradox of safety and fear. Reality faded away, akin to a curtain being drawn closed. Uncertainty enveloped me, blurring the lines between reality and the realm of dreams. The boundary had dissolved, akin to a delicate veil of fog. Suddenly, a noise shattered the tranquility. The front door creaked open, and a familiar voice resonated throughout the house. "Is that you, Claire Whitmore? Am I home?" I stood still as though emerging from a deep slumber, caught in the lingering haze of a vivid dream. Both Lucas Carter and I were startled, as if yanked from the protective cocoon we had unwittingly woven around ourselves. For a fleeting instant, it seemed as though my heart had ceased to beat. Lucas Carter released me in an instant, his eyes filled with a mix of alarm and an unspoken depth, a silent understanding lingering between us that neither of us was ready to articulate. My heart raced with such intensity that I feared my entire being might shatter. The atmosphere shifted palpably as Tom Reynolds entered, his visage radiating a bright smile, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within me. "Is that you, Claire Whitmore?" His voice carried a comforting familiarity, echoing the ease he always exuded upon returning home after a lengthy business trip. I inhaled deeply, seeking tranquility, striving to keep my voice unwavering. I announced my presence as I emerged from the living room, striving to maintain a smile that appeared effortless, despite the subtle tremors in my hands. Tom Reynolds approached, enveloping me in a warm embrace and placing a fleeting kiss upon my forehead. "I missed you," he said, oblivious to the palpable tension that enveloped the house. I cast a fleeting look at Lucas Carter. He stood a few feet away in the living room, his hands buried deep in his pockets, as though to prevent them from trembling. Our gazes locked for a fleeting moment, yet it was sufficient for me to perceive the chaos within him, a blend of remorse and an insatiable yearning. "Is that you, Lucas Carter? Come over and say hi to your dad," Tom Reynolds said with a cheerful smile as he caught sight of him. Lucas Carter inhaled deeply, composed himself, and approached with a practiced smile. "Greetings, Dad. How did your journey unfold?" Tom Reynolds radiated joy, giving Lucas Carter's shoulder a proud pat. "The experience was wonderful. Everything unfolded seamlessly. I even returned with a few tokens for you both." A lump formed in my throat at the sound of the word mom escaping Tom Reynolds's lips. It brought to mind the delicate balance I found myself in, one realm suffused with Tom Reynolds's serene affection, and another ensnared in the complex emotions that Lucas Carter and I had only just begun to explore. Tom Reynolds turned to me, his face radiant with joy, as he recounted his meetings and shared amusing anecdotes from his journey. Yet, his words merely floated by, barely touching my consciousness. My thoughts lingered on that earlier moment, when I had felt genuinely seen and desired in a manner I never imagined I would encounter again. Lucas Carter lingered silently behind Tom Reynolds, his gaze fixated on me, as though he were attempting to convey an unspoken message. Yet I averted my eyes, unwilling to allow Tom Reynolds to perceive anything out of the ordinary. "I'll make us some coffee, you must be tired," Tom Reynolds offered with a smile, making his way toward the kitchen, unaware of the thick silence that enveloped the room. Once the kitchen door clicked shut behind him, I shifted my gaze to Lucas. "Carter, we must stop," I murmured, my voice trembling. Lucas Carter stepped forward, his gaze heavy with sorrow. "I'm aware, however, this sensation." He swallowed hard, grappling with the elusive words for a truth that remained just beyond his grasp. "Lucas Carter, we cannot continue down this path, this family." I pressed my palms tightly together, grasping the final remnants of my determination. "This family means the world." Lucas Carter remained quiet, his gaze mirroring a profound sorrow. He nodded, yet an unspoken agreement lingered between us, a recognition that the events we shared were not easily cast aside. Tom Reynolds came back, 2 cups of coffee in hand, his smile radiating warmth as always. "You both appear quite solemn." "While I was gone, nothing of note occurred, did it?" I let out a laugh, airy yet lacking authenticity. "No, absolutely nothing. Just small talk," I replied, extending my hand to grasp the cup of coffee from Tom Reynolds. Lucas Carter offered a smile, yet a shadow of unease and regret lingered in his eyes. He averted his gaze and strolled toward the expansive window that framed the ocean, as though seeking an avenue to flee the space now burdened with reminiscences. I settled beside Tom Reynolds, yet the once familiar warmth of joy and tranquility had been fractured by a fissure I feared might remain unhealed. The heat of his hand clasped in mine failed to calm the tempest brewing within me. In the days that ensued, an unspoken weight enveloped the atmosphere. I endeavored to maintain a sense of normalcy, tidying the house, cooking dinner alongside Tom Reynolds, inquiring about his work as I routinely did. Yet, in every silent pause that lingered between our exchanges, I remained acutely aware of Lucas Carter's gaze upon me. Lucas Carter averted his gaze whenever Tom Reynolds was nearby, yet in those fleeting moments we encountered each other in the kitchen, the hallway, or out on the porch, the air thickened with an unmistakable awkwardness and unvoiced tension in every exchanged glance. One afternoon, as Tom Reynolds ventured out to enjoy a game with friends, I took a moment to step into the backyard and tend to the rose bushes, giving them the water they craved. The waning afternoon light danced gently through the foliage, yet my thoughts remained heavy, tethered to memories I struggled to release. Soft footsteps echoed behind me, and in an instant, I recognized them as Lucas Carter's. My heart constricted, yet I remained steadfast, refusing to look back. He advanced, positioning himself just a few feet away. I just wanted to step outside and get some fresh air," Lucas Carter said, his voice low and tinged with a hint of awkwardness. I nodded, attempting to concentrate on my task, yet my fingers gripping the garden hose quivered with uncertainty. Lucas Carter advanced another step, drawing near enough for me to catch the gentle rhythm of his breath mingling with the crisp ocean air. "It seems you're deliberately keeping your distance from me, aren't you?" His voice, though soft, resonated with a palpable sense of urgency. I remained quiet, uncertain of how to reply. A lingering fear gripped me, whispering that any words I uttered might set off a chain reaction, unraveling everything I held dear. "I understand. All that transpired. It is a challenge to come to terms with." Lucas Carter paused, his gaze heavy with anguish, yet I cannot feign that it never occurred. "You occupy my thoughts incessantly." I glanced at him, and within his gaze, I found all the feelings I had been striving to suppress, entwined in a web of confusion, longing, and guilt. "Lucas Carter, we must transcend this moment," I murmured, striving to maintain a calm tone. His eyes wavered briefly before locking onto mine, a mix of anguish and determination etched across his face. Yet I find myself at a loss. As the echoes of the past swirl within my mind, each glance and every fleeting moment brings forth a vivid recollection of it all. I tightened my grip on the hose, my knuckles paling to a ghostly white. I shared that sentiment. Each morning and evening, that moment replayed in my mind with the vividness of a recent memory. Yet, deep down, I understood that I must bring it to a halt. This family represented the culmination of all that Tom Reynolds and I had created together. I inhaled deeply, my vision blurred as tears loomed on the brink of falling. "Lucas Carter, if you hold any affection for this family, for your father, then we must release our grip." He remained quiet, as if engaged in a struggle deep within his own soul. At last, he nodded and turned away, his shoulders trembling ever so slightly, as though he had just experienced a profound loss. I observed him retreat into the house, leaving me solitary in the dimming twilight, a profound emptiness and ache resonating through every fiber of my existence. Though I understood this was the necessary choice, the chasm that lay between us seemed to rip a fragment of my heart asunder. I remained motionless in the yard as the waning afternoon sun sank below the horizon. The waves crashed steadily, serving as a reminder of the patience and permanence of time. Yet within me all was a tempest, a chaotic swirl that refused to be tamed. The sensation lingered, refusing to fade away. Each fleeting glance, each cherished memory of Lucas Carter lingered vividly in my thoughts. Yet, I was acutely aware that inaction would lead to my undoing. Remaining in this emotional limbo would inevitably cause everything to unravel. That night, in the stillness of the house, as Tom Reynolds lay peacefully asleep, I found myself perched on the couch, gazing out through the expansive window. The expansive night sea lay before me, yet my mind was ensnared in a web of turmoil and unease. As dawn broke, I resolved that the stifling tension could no longer persist. It was time to bring it to a definitive close. As I entered the kitchen, Lucas Carter's gaze rose to meet mine, a spark of recognition lighting up his eyes. It seemed he had an inkling that this dialogue was destined to unfold. I positioned myself opposite him, my fingers intertwined to prevent any signs of quaking. "Lucas Carter," I started, my tone gentle yet resolute. "This cannot continue." Lucas Carter nodded slowly, yet a profound sorrow lingered in his gaze. "I am aware. Yet how do we act as if it never occurred?" I gazed at him for what felt like an eternity, the pain in my heart intertwining with a newfound determination. "While the past remains unalterable, the path we take ahead is ours to determine. The entirety of your future lies before you, as does mine. This family is my responsibility." Lucas Carter bowed his head, burdened by the weight on his shoulders. "I have never experienced a force this profound, yet I shall endeavor to embrace it." I extended my hand, brushing against his with a soft, unspoken goodbye. "I have faith in your abilities, and I shall endeavor as well." We sat together in silence, yet this silence carried a weight of acceptance. I was certain that what we shared was far from a mistake. It was an aspect of the intricate emotions that humanity occasionally struggles to master. Yet, the decision to release it did not lessen its worth. Rather, it stood as a testament to the growth and mutual respect we cultivated for one another, and for this family. A week later, Lucas Carter found himself in possession of an offer from a prominent company in New York, a coveted internship he had long envisioned. As he unveiled the news during dinner, Tom Reynolds' joy was palpable. He embraced him warmly, his words brimming with pride for his son's remarkable achievement. A smile graced my lips, yet within me swirled a tumult of relief and sorrow. As Lucas Carter departed, I lingered at the threshold, enveloping him in a lingering embrace. I murmured, "Take care of yourself, Lucas Carter." He nodded, his gaze soft yet resolute. "And you as well, Claire Whitmore." He strolled into the distance, bearing the weight of his dreams and memories. I remained rooted to the spot, observing his car fade into the distance along the coastal road. A sense of liberation washing over me, mingled with an emptiness, as if I had just turned the page on a significant chapter of my existence. Our narrative may not conclude in the traditional sense of joy. Yet there are moments when the decision to part ways becomes the sole means of preserving what is truly exquisite. I retreated into the cozy embrace of our home, the sound of Tom Reynolds' voice beckoning me from the living room, a melody of familiarity and solace. As I entered, a smile graced my lips as I looked at him. Life continued its relentless march, and I resolved to nurture the tranquility I understood was essential to safeguard within my soul.